My name is James, and I hate my mother. I hate her so much for putting us through so much pain and agony. My mother was our father's side chick, something other young ladies go into just for money. But my mother started dating him and got pregnant. He told her to terminate the pregnancy, but she refused and threatened to go announce it on social media. My father, being a very wealthy man who didn't want such a scandal, accepted the pregnancy and paid her bride price. She moved into his mansion, but instead of keeping her there, he asked her to stay in the boys' quarters with the promise that he was building a house for her somewhere. Somehow, she took in again for him and had my two younger siblings, the twins. My father hates her so much and even transferred his hatred to us. We were not allowed to call him daddy, as he instructed us to call him chief, so people never knew he was our father. He treated us so bad that at some point I began to doubt if he was truly our father. We stayed in that boys' quarter for such a long time. Chief, this is not what you promised me. Why are you treating me and my children this bad? They are your children too, my mother said to him on one of the days he came to see us. Ogechi, please stop shedding your crocodile tears. I told you that I never wanted to marry you, but you choose to ruin my personality with pregnancy. You wanted marriage. Marriage is here, so deal with it. I love my wife and I am not ready to share the time I have to spend with her with a little girl like you. The kind of businesses I discuss with my wife, I cannot discuss them with you. My mother couldn't hold back her tears as she held my father's hand. Chief, please, can you at least start up a business for me? Remember you promised to open a boutique for me. At least let me see something to use and take care of myself as a young lady. Ogechi, I made that promise while we were dating and I was already making plans towards it before you came up with the news of your pregnancy. I will think about it, he said as he gently pushed my mother by the side and walked away. I stood by the door, listening to them. Immediately my mother saw me. She shouted, James, will you get inside? Ogechi, don't ever shout at my son like that again. He is not the cause of your misery. Chief never cared for us. Our step-siblings attended the best private schools. Birthdays were celebrated. They wore the best clothes while we couldn't even eat good food. His compound was filled with flashy cars and he couldn't give one to my mother, despite the fact that he buys new cars every year. Chief decided to open a boutique for my mother. Mommy was so happy. She had plans of all the big things she could achieve with the shop. Little did she know that was the beginning of our suffering. Chief stopped giving her money for our upkeep, feeding and school fees. He told her to take care of us with the shop. We moved from local private we attended to a government school. Feeding became so hard for us. Mommy was always crying and most times poured out her frustration on us. I finished secondary school and Chief told my mother that I should go and earn a trade because he doesn't have money for higher education. But that same month, he bought 2 cars for my step-siblings for their 19th birthday. Every day, Mom would cry and cry. Her business crashed and there was nothing for us to feed on again. She would occasionally call her siblings for help and with time, they stopped helping. Then she became sick and very sick. Several times we went to Chief to help us, but he wouldn't listen to us. Luckily, Mommy was able to reach one of her brothers who came to the house and threatened Chief. That was when he gave us money to take Mommy to the hospital. 2 days later, Mommy was on the hospital bed, crying and asking us for forgiveness. My children, please forgive me. I never knew being a second wife to a wealthy man could be this painful. I thought life would be a luxury for us. Little did I know I was walking into my doom. Please, you people should forgive me. She was still struggling to talk when she gave up. We couldn't even cry. So many thoughts in our mind. Now she is gone. What next? How do we survive? The day Mommy died felt like the sky fell on us. My siblings sat on the cold hospital bench, confused and broken. I couldn't even cry. I had cried too many silent tears in the past to know if I still had any left. We didn't have a phone, So we walked all the way to Chief's mansion to tell him the news. The security guard almost didn't let me in until he saw my eyes, red and swollen. He went inside and came back with just 3 words. Oga is coming. Chief arrived hours later. No hug, no pity, no sympathy, just silence. He walked straight to the nurse station, signed some papers, then came to us and handed me a plastic bag. Inside were 3 black clothes, one for me and for the twins. You follow the ambulance, he said flatly. Are we going to the village? I asked quietly. You asked too many questions, he snapped. I helped place Mommy's lifeless body in the ambulance. The driver started the engine. I expected Chief to get into, but instead, he turned to us and said, You won't be staying in the mansion. I made arrangements elsewhere. The ambulance took off. We followed in a keke Chief hired, expecting to arrive at the family home, but instead, we were dropped off as a small dusty one-room apartment on the outskirts of town. This is where you will stay till after the burial, the man who drove us said before leaving. I stared at the dirty walls, the cracked windows, the broken fan. My mother just died. We had no food, no money, no phone, and now, no place to truly call home. That night, I lay awake and whispered, Mommy, you left us with nothing, not even a goodbye. Days passed in that tiny room Chief dumped us in. The fan didn't work, the bed was at a thin foam on the floor. There was no light, and the smell of the toilet made me sick. But we had no choice, we stayed. The landlord said Chief had paid for 1 month, and after that, we'll be on our own. We waited. Months turned to night. No word from Chief. No plans for the burial. No message from the village. My younger siblings asked me every day, James, when are we burying Mommy? I had no answer, just silence. On the 4th day, I decided to go to the mortuary myself. I had to know what was going on. The nurse at the desk gave me a confused look when I asked for my mother's body. She's not here anymore, she said. I froze. What do you mean? My mother is Ogechi. Ogechi Nwokedi. She died on Monday. Yes, she said, flipping through her notebook. Her body was picked up yesterday morning. A man came with village elders, said they were her husband's people. They took her. Who took her? I shouted. Why didn't they call us? I don't know, young man. They said they were handling the burial. I staggered outside, numb. So that was it. Chief buried Mommy without telling us. Without her children present. Without a single word. I walked back home slowly. The sun burned my back, but the fire in my chest was worse. My hands were shaking. My siblings ran out when they saw me. Is it time? They asked. No, I whispered, voice cracking. They've already buried her. The twins stood still, like statues. One of them, my sister, Adaeze, started crying softly. My brother Chuka stared into space. She's gone. And we didn't even say goodbye, he said. And that night, we cried ourselves to sleep in that small dark room where our world was falling apart. A week after the burial we didn't attend, our stomach were already getting used to the feeling of emptiness. We barely ate twice a day. I would sometimes pretend I wasn't hungry, just so the twins could share the only meal we had. We hadn't heard from Chief. Not a single visit, not a phone call. He had buried our mother without us and then disappeared like we didn't exist. Then came the knock. It was early in the morning. We hadn't even brushed our teeth or washed our faces. The knock was hard, 3 times, loud and sharp. I opened the door to find a middle-aged man in a blue shirt holding a file. Are you James? He asked. Yes, sir. He flipped open the file and handed me a paper. I'm from the estate management office. Chief paid for this room for just 1 month. You have 7 days to leave. I looked at the paper and read the bold word. Notice to vacate. Sir, please, I beg. We are still mourning our mother. We have nowhere to go. I understand, the man said, his eyes softened. But I'm just doing my job. Talk to your father. My father? I laughed bitterly. He doesn't see us as his children. The man sighed and walked away, leaving the eviction letter in my trembling hand. I walked back inside and shut the door. The twins looked at me waiting. What is it? Chuka asked. We have 7 days, I whispered. To do what? To leave. Adaeze started to cry again. This time, louder. I sat on the floor. my back against the wall, staring into space. I felt like my soul was drowning in sorrow. We had nothing left. Not our mother, not our dignity, and now, not even a roof over our head. What kind of life is this? The week flew by faster than we expected, and before we could even beg the landlord, he sent 2 men to throw our things out. The small foam, our torn bags, and the plastic plates we had left were all dumped into the street like trash. "Please, sir," Adaeze cried, holding one of the men's shoulder. "Madam, shift," the man snapped. "Na order we dey follow." Just like that, we were homeless. I gathered our things in silence. I didn't want the neighbors to see my tears. But when Chuka asked, "James, where are we going now?" I nearly broke down. "I don't know," I said honestly. We carried our bags and started walking. No destination, just 3 teenagers wandering Lagos streets with pain in their hearts. That night, we slept on the bench outside the church compound. The security man didn't chase us away. Maybe God touched his heart. The wooden bench was hard and cold, but at least it wasn't the floor. We took turns sleeping, so one person could stay awake and watch the bags. I stayed up first. As the twins dozed off, I looked up at the sky and asked, "Why, God? What did we do to deserve this?" The next morning, hunger struck like a hammer. I saw leftover rice near the church gutter. I walked past it 3 times. Then I gave up and picked some of it into a nylon bag, cleaned it with water, and shared it to the twins. It was the most painful thing I've ever done, feeding my siblings gutter food. Days passed. We moved from place to place, under bridges, market stores, church corners. People looked at us like we were criminals. But one day, something changed. A woman selling roasted corn noticed us sleeping under her shed. She approached us slowly. "My children, who are you?" she asked. I stood up quickly and replied, "We are the children of a woman who died, and a father who doesn't care if we live." The woman looked at me for long and hard, as if trying to read my soul through my eyes. She had tired eyes and hands rough from years of labor, but there was something gentle about her. "My name is Mama Chinyere," she said softly. "Where is your father?" I shook my head. "He buried our mother without us and left us on the street. We have nowhere to go." She clicked her tongue and sighed deeply. Wickedness. May God judge him. That evening, she gave us roasted corn and sachets of water. My siblings devoured the food like they hadn't eaten in weeks. I tried to eat slowly, but my hands were shaking. "Come with me," she said, after we had eaten. "I don't have much, but I have space." She took us to a small room in a compound just behind her corn stand. It was barely big enough to stretch your legs fully, but it was dry, had a roof, and smelt of kerosene and old clothes, still better than the street. She gave us one mattress and some wrappers. That night, we finally slept like humans again. The next day, she asked us our story. I told her everything, from how our mother became Chief's second wife, to how we treated us like strangers, to how we left us to suffer. She shook her head several times. "Your mother suffered. I knew a girl like her once, young, beautiful, got pregnant by a rich man. She thought love would save her. Instead, it broke her. Days turned into weeks. Mama Chinyere let us help her roast corn. She gave us breakfast and dinner. She even gave me 500 naira one day to buy soap and a toothbrush. I began to see something in her I hadn't seen in anyone since mommy died. That was care. But life was not done throwing surprises at us. One morning, while returning from fetching water, a man from our old neighborhood came running toward me, his eyes wide, bright shot. "James, have you heard? Your father is dead." I stood frozen. The empty bucket in my hand dropped to the ground with a loud clang. But I didn't notice. My ears were ringing. "What did you say?" I asked, staring at the man. "Your father, Chief. He died this morning in a car accident. They say he hit a trailer near the Lekki Expressway." My mouth went dry. I should have felt something. Relief, anger, pain. But all I felt was confusion. Chief was dead? Just like that? When I returned to the room, I didn't say anything. I just sat on the floor and stared at the cracked wall. The twins watched me silently until Chuka finally asked, "What is it?" "Chief is dead," I said in a voice I barely recognized. Ada gasped. "So what happens now?" "I don't know," I replied. The next day, we were invited to his house, not by his wife or children, but by a man in a suit who said he was chief's lawyer. Mama Chinyere gave us her blessing. Go, my children, go and hear what the man has to say. When we arrived at the mansion, it was packed with people, family members, business partners, journalists, but no one looked our way. They all treated us like unwanted visitors. Chief's legal wife stood by the door, her face sharp like a blade. What are you doing here? She hissed at the lawyer. They were invited, he replied firmly. We sat in a corner like strangers, ignored and insulted by whispers. Then the lawyer stood and cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief slept behind the wheel. It's time to read it. The room went silent. He began reading the will. Properties, cars, money, all going to his wife and children. Then the lawyer paused and looked at us. To James and the twins, he read, I failed you. I was cruel. I let my shame guide my action. I abandoned your mother and left you in pain. I'm sorry. The room erupted in murmurs. However, the lawyer continued, I leave to them the boutique I opened for Ogechi and the 4-bedroom bungalow located in Surulere, Lagos. Gaps filled the room. Chief's wife jumped to her feet. That house is mine. He bought it for me. The lawyer shook his head. No. The document showed it was transferred to Ogechi 2 years ago. I looked at my siblings, their eyes wide with disbelief. Chief was dead, but his shadow was just beginning to haunt our lives. We didn't get to leave the mansion quietly that day. Chief's wife came after us like a raging lioness. As we stepped out of the sitting room, she marched towards us with 2 of her children flanking her like guards. You bastard! Think you can take what belongs to my family, she snapped, her voice loud enough to turn her. The lawyer tried to step in. Madam, please let them be. Shut up, she yelled. That house in Surulere is mine. He bought it with my money. That boutique, it was meant to keep your harlot mother quiet. I clenched my fist. My heart was thumping so loud I could barely think. We didn't ask for your husband's love, I said coldly. He gave us nothing while he was alive, not even peace. But now, he left us something. And we won't let you take it. Her eyes burned. You will regret this, she hissed before storming off, dragging her children behind her. The lawyer advised us to stay low and not visit the house yet. There might be attempts to destroy the documents or claim the property legally, he warned. I will get the courts involved. Just when we thought it was over, a legal battle began. Within a week, we were served court paper from chief's wives claiming the documents were fake and the signature was forged. Mama Chinyere helped us find a pro bono human rights lawyer. He was a young man named Mr. Adebayo, sharp and full of fire. We'll fight this, he said. You are not just fighting for a house, you are fighting for your mother's dignity. We prepared for court, but I was scared. The other side had money, power and influence. All we had was truth and pain. The first day in court felt like walking into a battlefield. Chief's wife came dressed in a flowing black lace gown, as if mourning gave her more power. Her sons followed behind like bodyguards. Cameras clicked, journalists whispered, and all eyes were on us. 3 broken children from the boys' quarters. We had nothing fancy to wear. I borrowed a shirt from a neighbor, and the twins wore matching Ankara clothes matching as soon for them. I held my siblings' hands tightly as we walked in. The courtroom was tense. Chief's wife's lawyer began by calling us imposters, accusing our mother of forging documents and manipulating a dying man. She was a side chick, a schemer. This house and boutique belonged to the legal family, he said with boldness. Our lawyer, Mr. Adeboye, stood up. We have proof of transfer of ownership signed and sealed 2 years ago. We also have video evidence of Chief acknowledging the children privately before his death. But the Chief's wife's lawyer laughed. If these children are truly Chief's blood, prove it with a DNA test. The judge paused, then nodded. A DNA test will be conducted. Results will be presented in 2 weeks. Outside court, the press surrounded us. One reporter asked, James, are you afraid? I looked her in the eye and said, I'm not afraid of the truth. The next week, we went for the test. Blood was drawn, swabs taken. I could feel my heartbeat in my ears the whole time. Every second after that test felt like a year. I kept imagining, what if we weren't his? What if this was all a lie? But deep inside, I knew the truth. 2 weeks later, the judge returned. He opened the envelope and read the result. These children are biologically the offspring of late Chief Nwokedi. This is a 99.9% match. Gaps fill the room. I closed my eyes. My mother, even in death, was finally vindicated. The court ruled in our favor. After hearing the DNA result and reviewing the ownership documents, the judge declared the boutique and the Surulere property legally belong to the children of late Chief Nwokedi, born by late Ogechi Nwokedi. Chief's wife screamed for her suit. This is nonsense. I will appeal. But her voice was drowned by the gavel's bang. The courtroom was dismissed. I stood there stunned. We had won. After everything, after sleeping in church corners, after begging to eat, after watching our mother suffer and die, we finally had something. A home. We moved into the Surulere house 2 days later. It was dusty and quiet, like a place that had been waiting for us. The keys turned in the lock, and as the door creaked open, sunlight flooded the front room. The tiles were pale cream, the curtains, although faded, danced gently in the breeze. I stepped in and whispered, "Mommy, we made it." There were framed photos of Chief on the wall. I took them down, I kept them aside, not out of hate, but out of healing. That space belongs to mommy now. The boutique was still standing, though it hadn't been open in months. I took the keys and began to clean it. It was hard work, but every sweep of broom felt like erasing the years of shame. The twins smiled for the first time in months. Adaeze started humming while washing the windows. Chuka said, "We can finally breathe." We spent our first night in our new home, sleeping on mats and old pillows, but we were happy. It wasn't about the furniture, it was dignity. Just when we started to feel safe again, it happened. I woke up one night to loud crackling sounds and smoke. The boutique was on fire. The thick smell of smoke filled my lungs. Before I could fully open my eyes, I sat up with a jolt and rushed to the window. Orange flames danced across the street, the boutique. I screamed, "Adaeze, Chuka, wake up." We dashed outside barefoot, still in our wrappers. Our neighbors were already pouring water, but it was too late. The fire had swallowed the entrance and had started racing towards the roof. The glass cracked, metal bent, and all the clothes we had arranged the day before burned to ash before our eyes. I stood frozen, my fists clenched. That boutique was all we had. It was mommy's dream, and now it was gone. The fire service arrived 30 minutes later, too late to save anything. They sprayed what was left of the burning skeleton, but the damage was done. Adeze was crying beside me, and Chuka stared at the flames in silence. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to scream. I wanted to find who did this and make them pay. One of the neighbors came forward. "James," he said, "I think you should see this." He handed me a small flash drive. My shop CCTV caught something. I rushed inside and plugged it into an old laptop. My hands shook as I pressed play. There he was, Chief's first son, Emeka, wearing a face cap and a black hoodie. He smashed the boutique window, poured petrol, and lit a match. I fell on my knees. "Why?" I whispered. "Why wouldn't they let us live in peace?" We took the video to the police immediately. The officer on duty nodded. "This is strong evidence. We will arrest him." But by the next morning, Emeka was already released. No apology, no explanation. Power protects the wicked. But I wasn't going to let this go. I looked at my siblings and said, "We may have lost this boutique, but we are not losing the war." If you have watched to this part, do well to like, comment, and subscribe. Then watch out for part 2. The war begins.